I broke myself to rebuild myself. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine standing in the ashes of your own life, feeling shattered, lost, and unsure if you can ever rise again. That moment, the moment when everything you thought defined you falls apart, is not the end. It is the sacred beginning. Life has a way of breaking us, not to punish us, but to awaken us. Sometimes the very structure we cling to, the identity we wear like armor, must crumble before we can see who we truly are. Breaking is not failure, breaking is liberation. When you break, the ego steps aside and the soul begins to whisper truths you've long ignored. Breaking is a doorway, not a defeat. Too often, when life shatters us, we immediately label it as failure, as if the very act of experiencing pain or loss diminishes our worth. Yet, the truth is that breaking is not the opposite of success. It is the beginning of it. Every moment in which we feel fractured, abandoned, or lost carries within it the seed of transformation. It is in the spaces of brokenness that we discover the vastness of our own strength and the depth of our own spirit. When life seems to fall apart, it is not closing doors on us. It is opening new ones, inviting us to step into a higher version of ourselves that we could not reach without being broken first. Imagine a sculptor working with stone. The first strikes may seem violent, even destructive, yet each chip is necessary to reveal the masterpiece within. In the same way, our own experiences of being broken are the chisel and hammer shaping the person we are meant to become. The pain is not punishment, it is guidance. It calls our attention to what we must release, what we must surrender, and what we must transform within ourselves. In the act of breaking, we are forced to confront the illusions we have held, the false identities we have worn, and the fears that have kept us small. This confrontation, though uncomfortable, is liberating because it allows the ego to step aside and the soul to speak. When we embrace breaking as a doorway rather than a defeat, we shift from resisting life to cooperating with it. We begin to see setbacks not as obstacles, but as invitations to grow, to rise, and to expand our consciousness. We recognize that what feels like an ending is really a beginning, a call to reconstruct ourselves on stronger foundations. Each fracture, each disappointment, and each heartbreak becomes a teacher, guiding us toward wisdom, clarity, and inner power. The beauty of life is that we are not defined by the moments in which we fall. We are defined by how we respond to them, how we allow them to refine us, and how we choose to step through the doorway they have opened. To break is to awaken, and awakening is the first step toward the life we are destined to live. The ego must fall for the soul to rise. So often, we identify so completely with our external achievements, our roles, our opinions, and the image we project to the world that we forget the deeper essence of who we truly are. The ego convinces us that our value is determined by what we have, what we do, or what others think of us, and in clinging to this illusion, we build walls around our hearts, confining the flow of our true potential. Yet, life has a way of gently, or sometimes violently, reminding us that the ego is not the ruler of our destiny. It is merely a mask. When we experience breaking, when the familiar structures of our life crumble, the ego resists. It cries out in fear, wanting to hold onto control, to keep things safe, to maintain the identity we have grown comfortable with. But it is precisely in this surrender, in allowing the ego to fall away, that the soul has the freedom to emerge. The soul is not concerned with success, recognition, or validation. It is concerned with truth, with alignment, and with the expression of our highest self. When the ego loosens its grip, the soul whispers its wisdom, guiding us toward choices that nurture growth, compassion, and authenticity. This process is rarely comfortable because the ego feels threatened by the unknown, by change, by the prospect of a self that is defined by love and purpose rather than fear and expectation. Yet, the soul's rise is inevitable once we stop resisting. In the quiet moments of introspection, when we let go of attachment to image and control, we begin to sense a profound inner guidance. We discover that our worth is intrinsic, that our value does not depend on external validation, and that the life we were longing for has always been available when we step into alignment with our essence. Every setback, every moment of self-doubt, every experience that shakes our foundation is an invitation to release the ego's illusion and allow the soul's truth to illuminate the path forward. The falling away of the ego is not loss, it is liberation. It is the clearing of space for our true self to flourish, for creativity, love, and purpose to flow unhindered. In the end, the soul's rise is the reward for those who have the courage to let go of the identities that no longer serve them, trusting that what emerges is infinitely more beautiful and powerful than what was left behind. Wounds are portals to strength. Every scar, every moment of pain, every experience that leaves us feeling raw and vulnerable carries within it the opportunity for profound growth. Life does not break us to keep us weak. It breaks us to show us the power that has always existed within. When we are wounded, it is easy to feel defeated, to believe that suffering is a mark of weakness or inadequacy. But in truth, it is the very experience of hurt that allows us to access levels of resilience, courage, and wisdom that we might never encounter otherwise. Think of the strongest trees in a storm. They bend, they sway, they sometimes lose branches, yet it is through weathering the storm that their roots grow deeper, their trunks sturdier, and their reach higher. In the same way, human beings become stronger not in spite of their wounds, but because of them. Each wound teaches us empathy, patience, and understanding. Each challenge reveals hidden reservoirs of determination and creativity. Each heartbreak opens our capacity to love more fully and more authentically. The key is not to resist the pain or to hide from it, but to embrace it as a teacher, a guide, and a necessary companion on the journey of personal evolution. When we look closely at the experiences that have left us scarred, we can begin to see the lessons embedded within them. We recognize that suffering is not meaningless, it is transformative. It reshapes our priorities, refines our character, and illuminates the qualities we must cultivate to move forward with grace and confidence. Wounds also remind us that we are alive, that we are capable of feeling deeply, and that we have the capacity to endure and transcend. By reframing our pain as a portal rather than a prison, we shift our perspective from victimhood to empowerment. We begin to see that what we once feared or resented can become the very source of our strength and authenticity. The human spirit is incredibly resilient, and the process of healing allows us to access powers within ourselves that may have remained dormant without the experiences of struggle. Every setback, disappointment, and loss carries the seeds of a new and more powerful self. It is through the conscious acknowledgement of our wounds, coupled with the willingness to learn and grow from them, that we step into the fullness of our potential, and we realize that the life we are creating through our pain is richer, wiser, and infinitely more meaningful than the one we imagined before we were broken. Rebuilding is a conscious act. After the breaking, after the moments when life has stripped away illusions and shaken us to our core, there comes a choice to either remain in the fragments or to step deliberately into the process of creating a new self. Rebuilding is not accidental, it is intentional. It is the recognition that we are the architects of our own lives, the sculptors of our own character, and the creators of the destiny that unfolds before us. Too often, people wait for circumstances to change, for others to rescue them, or for life to grant them permission to heal. Yet true transformation begins when we take responsibility for ourselves and decide, in the depth of our being, that we will rise. This requires courage, because rebuilding often means confronting uncomfortable truths, acknowledging patterns that no longer serve us, and letting go of attachments that feel familiar but are limiting. It demands patience because change is rarely instantaneous. It unfolds in small, consistent steps, each one bringing us closer to a life that aligns with our highest values and deepest desires. It requires self-compassion, for the process of rebuilding may involve setbacks, doubts, and moments of frustration. But most of all, it demands faith, the faith that we are capable of creating a life that reflects our authentic self, that the pain we endured has not been in vain, and that the strength we seek has always been within us. Rebuilding is also a creative act. Just as an artist envisions a masterpiece before the first stroke of paint, we must imagine the life we wish to inhabit, feel it as already real, and then take inspired action to bring it into manifestation. Every choice we make, every thought we entertain, and every habit we cultivate contributes to the reconstruction of our identity. Rebuilding is a journey of alignment where we consciously let go of what is false, unnecessary, or harmful, and embrace what nurtures growth, love, and purpose. It is an ongoing dialogue between the self we were, the self we are, and the self we are becoming. And in this process, we discover that rebuilding is not merely about returning to who we were before we were broken. It is about stepping into a more empowered, aware, and authentic version of ourselves, one that could only have emerged through the willingness to break, reflect, and consciously create anew. Trust the process of life. One of the greatest lessons we can learn is that life unfolds in a way far greater than our limited understanding can grasp. When we encounter pain, setbacks, or uncertainty, our instinct is often to resist, to control, or to demand immediate answers. Yet resistance only prolongs suffering and keeps us trapped in the illusion that we must engineer every outcome. Trusting the process of life is the art of surrender, of allowing events to unfold while maintaining faith in our inner guidance and the unseen intelligence that orchestrates our journey. This does not mean passivity or inaction. It means actively engaging in life while releasing the illusion of control over every detail. It is the understanding that what may feel like chaos, confusion, or failure is often a necessary part of our growth, shaping us into a higher version of ourselves. Life has a mysterious way of providing exactly what we need, even if it arrives in forms we did not expect. Trusting the process requires patience, because transformation is rarely instantaneous. It requires faith, because we may not see the full picture, and courage, because the path may lead through uncomfortable or unfamiliar territory. When we embrace trust, we allow ourselves to move forward without being paralyzed by fear, doubt, or the need for certainty. We begin to recognize the subtle lessons embedded in every challenge, the hidden blessings in every disappointment, and the opportunities for growth in every setback. Trusting life also deepens our connection with our inner self. We learn to listen to our intuition, to act from alignment rather than reaction, and to honor the guidance that comes from a place of love and clarity rather than fear and judgment. In trusting, we realize that life is not happening to us. It is happening for us. Each experience, whether joyous or painful, is a thread in the intricate tapestry of our personal evolution. By surrendering to the process, we step into a state of flow where creativity, resilience, and inner peace become accessible. We see that control is not the goal, alignment is. We discover that the universe supports those who act with integrity, faith, and intention, and that what may feel like uncertainty is often a precursor to transformation and new beginnings. Ultimately, trusting the process of life allows us to move forward with grace, to embrace change without fear, and to walk the path of self-discovery with confidence, knowing that every twist and turn is part of a larger plan that serves our highest good. Emerging self is greater than the old self. When we endure the trials of life, when we break and rebuild, when we confront pain and surrender to growth, we begin to discover a version of ourselves that is far more powerful, authentic, and aligned than the person we once were. The old self was often shaped by fear, limitations, and external expectations. It clung to comfort, resisted change, and defined itself by circumstances rather than essence. Yet, through the process of breaking and conscious reconstruction, we peel away layers of conditioning, false beliefs, and attachments that no longer serve us. What emerges is not just a healed version of the old self, but a completely transformed being, one whose identity is rooted in awareness, purpose, and love. The emerging self sees challenges as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and pain as a teacher. It no longer reacts from fear or insecurity, but responds from understanding, clarity, and alignment with a higher vision of life. This self is not dependent on validation from others or approval from the outside world. It draws strength from an inner wellspring of courage, resilience, and faith. Every experience of loss, heartbreak, or disappointment has become fuel for growth, sharpening our discernment, expanding our compassion, and deepening our understanding of what truly matters. The emerging self also embraces freedom, the freedom to choose authenticity over conformity, passion over comfort, and love over fear. It recognizes that life is not about clinging to the familiar, but about stepping boldly into the unknown, trusting that each step is guided by the wisdom gained through every challenge endured. This transformation is not instantaneous. It is the cumulative result of reflection, conscious action, and a willingness to embrace change. Yet as we move forward, we notice a profound shift. The weight of past limitations falls away, replaced by a sense of empowerment and clarity. The emerging self understands that every fragment of the old self, every wound, every mistake, has contributed to this greater version of being. We are not defined by what we were, but by who we are becoming, and that self is capable of achieving, loving, and creating at levels previously unimaginable. In recognizing this, we step fully into our power, embody our highest potential, and live with a sense of